Do you know the feeling when you have like a big pile of small projects, but because it's in a big pile, it feels like big projects, because if you start one, then the others will inevitably kind of come up in your mind? Well, I have a mending pile. I have a bunch of little tiny quick fixes laying around the house that I do want to fix. And before in this series, Mending Matters, I've done kind of bigger one item focused fixes, mending projects. But this time I wanted to go through all of the tiny little details that can fall through the cracks of everyday life, but that still help you maintain your items in good condition and be able to use them. So without further ado, I'll go into the pile now and explain what I have to do to each one of them. The first item in my pile is this jacket. It's a padded black trench coat. I've used it a lot during the winter, and the problem is really simple. It's just lost one of its buttons. Easy peasy, 5 minutes. I just haven't done it yet. So sewing up a button is a really good basic life skill, and to me it seems very simple, but I get that it's not like that for everyone. We used to teach young women to sew in school, and I think it's still a good idea for anyone to learn some basics about taking care of your clothes, since we are very alienated from them at this point in our society. I like that the thread was a different color than black, so you could see that I've intervened. Next item is this wool undershirt. It has this lovely color that I love very much. I love layering with this. I've used it so much during this winter because it's like the perfect undergarment to make any outfit more winter appropriate. So it does have some holes in it. I've had this for many years and used it quite a lot. So the lace on the edges here, that's kind of messed up a little bit, but that's not the problem we're tackling today. The problem we're tackling is these holes that are on the side of the body. There we go. These holes. And I've already repaired a similar issue on the elbow right here with a patch that I knitted out of sewing thread. Pretty thin knitting needles, and then I combined this gray sewing thread with a more pink color to kind of color match this. It was the closest I could get. And then I attached that afterwards over the problem area. I'll show you the inside. It looks like this on the inside. So that's the hole I covered up. And I'm not sure if I should do something to prevent it from spreading outside of this patch. Might do that. Yeah, so I'll go for a similar fix here with the bigger holes, knit a tiny patch and sew it on. I didn't have any fabric that matched the material or the color. At first I wanted to knit one out of wool, but it would get way too thick because it's quite a thin shirt and it would be kind of bulky and awkward. So that's why I ended up using the sewing thread. I actually changed my plans for this and ended up needle felting the holes instead. After testing a small spot, I found that it was more simple and discreet looking, so I mixed 3 different wool colors to kind of match the cold pink color, and then I felted it from the inside of the shirt. I also turned it right side out and finished the look with some needle felting on the outside as well. I was really surprised at how well this worked and how little you could see it, which I think is perfect for an undershirt like this, and I'm really excited to wear it again. I'm not sure if this technically counts as mending. It's more of an alteration, but it's using kind of a mending technique. I have this kind of steel gray linen dress. I have not worn it that much because it has this cotton section in the front and in the back that I don't like. I don't like the look of it. It's woven in a different way. It's kind of like a more loose, airy material, and it's got a warmer undertone than the rest of the dress, and the rest of the dress is like quite rustic and a little bit intense, and so I just didn't think it matched very well. And so I have been weaving a wool patch on top. Again, the same problem as with the undershirt, that I don't have any fabric in the same color of like this heavyweight linen. So what I did was weaving this by hand as if I was patching up a hole, but I'm just covering up a piece of fabric that I don't like. So one side is already done, but that's only 1/4 of the work because there's also a panel on the back and I only did half in the front here, and it does take quite a long time, so that's why this has been on the back burner for a little bit. Because it's kind of a weird shape, what I did with the first patch here was that I attached the strings in this direction first and then this way, so I think I'm gonna do that again. One problem is I didn't use anything to stretch out the fabric, so it's pulling on it a little bit. This patch is a little bit smaller than the panel behind it. You can kind of see it. It bulks a little weirdly in the back there, but I don't know how to solve it. And since it's wool, it might stretch a little bit when washed. I hadn't thought too much about washing, actually. It might felt. That's a problem for future me. Hand embroidered weaving like this is pretty tedious and time consuming, and you need to be both patient and precise for it to work. Along this process, you really have to trust that it'll come together at the end, because it looks quite wonky right up until the end, since all the threads push against each other and create the tension at the end that makes it look like a unified panel. So I only did the other front panel, but I still think it's a good progression from before. And I was lying down for some of the time, and I definitely recommend sitting up when you're doing something like this, because it ended up being not quite 90-degree angles I was working with, but it still ended up working, so maybe it's fine. This is a pillowcase that I want to fix up. It's a really old one. I think I got it at like a swapping place for free, and then I washed it, and then when it came out the washer it was a little bit worse for wear. But I really like this kind of really thick old school cotton. It also has initials embroidered here on the front. I really love the tactile element of this pillowcase, so I want to save it. It's quite simple. It's just this little strip has come apart from the fabric that it was originally attached to, and this strip is the part that has the holes for the buttons, and then also it's missing a button. So I think I'll replace both buttons, because this one is obviously a cloth covered button that has lost its cloth covering. And then there are 2 holes in the front here, and 3, I guess, 2 small ones here, and I'll do some sort of patching up there as well. This pillowcase was maybe the most time-consuming project next to the dress. I had these cloth-covered buttons from a thrift store, and when I checked, they were exactly the right size for the buttonholes. I stitched it in a different color from white to make the labor that went into it visible. I personally really like the look of visible stitches. So this is the reattaching stitch I used. I also had a scrap piece of fabric that I cut into the right size and sewed onto the back side of the pillowcase to mend the hole. I think a patch like this is very beautiful and poetic. I did my best to make the stitches small and charming. I've already put the pillowcase on my pillow and I'm currently using it, so though it took some time to repair, I'm very happy with being able to use it again. I bought this nightgown when I was in Amsterdam alone in 2019. I think I have my first vlog from that trip on this channel. Anyway, I bought this. It was like when nightgowns were a new trend, and I've loved nightgowns since then, but this was the first one that I bought, and it was like in an expensive vintage store, and it has the part of the initials of Flagebjørn. I thought that was cute. The problem is it has this scalloped edge and it has this tear. It's so sad. And you can see it happened here as well. I didn't mend this, someone else did. But it's been sewn up here already, and I think it's torn again a little bit. So I need to sew these two tears up, so I won't feel scared to wear it and tear it even more. Such a darling little dress. This dress is pretty worn down, and I both stitched up the tear and also added an extra piece of fabric to strengthen the repair I was doing, because sometimes it can make it worse just to add stitches to already weak fabric. It can actually make it tear a lot more. So adding an extra piece of fabric as a patch can help the structural integrity of the repair job. I have many good memories in this. Then I have this wool cardigan. It's this interesting like green beige color with brown maroon details. I quite like it actually. Every now and then I like remember that I have it and I wear it for a while. It has a few holes. I need to locate them. Okay, so I think the main one is here. And since it is wool, I want to do a needle felted wool patch instead of like Swiss darning or something else. I think it's gonna look cute, a little patch, and I might do like a visible patch in a different color, maybe pink. I needle felted this cardigan with a piece of leftover yarn that I've hand carded into a fluffy piece of fiber. I think that's a really full circle moment to use scrap yarn. Anyway, I think this color is interesting on the cardigan, and it does kind of look like a bruise in some ways because of the pink in the middle. Afterwards, I considered that felting it from the backside would be a more subtle result after looking at what it looked like on the backside, and that's actually why I did that on the pink wool undershirt, which I felted after this cardigan, even though it comes before in the video. So every time you repair something, you learn something new that you can apply to the next repair project. Sure. These pants that were originally mine, and then I gave them to Thomas because he needed pants and I have a lot. I got them for free, so it was fine. They are kind of tearing here. The fabric has been worn out a little bit here on the thigh, and so it's like separating from the seam. That's the word I was looking for. So these pants have a little bit of a worn thin area here near the seam in the middle through the crotch. So I've already sewn it, reattached it to the seam, but that wasn't good enough. I need to add a patch underneath and then strengthen it that way for these to be wearable again. I've also already mended a tiny little patch here with a little woven bit. For these pants, I added a new layer of black fabric which I cut from a pillowcase I thrifted a while back and have used for other sewing projects. This is a very simple technique of just running the thread between the different layers to attach them together. I tried mimicking the sashiko stitch a little, but I still haven't totally gotten the hang of that. It's all dark colors though, and thus not very visible, so it's fine. Lots of pants and jeans wear out in the crotch area, which has a lot of strain on it, but it's very possible to mend this area both in visible and more subtle ways where others will not be able to tell so much that it's been repaired. This is a really nice pair of pants with linen and cotton fabric, and I'm very happy to bring them back to life. now. It's another nightgown. I love them and I wear them quite a lot. But this one I bought ages ago and I just haven't worn it yet until recently because these straps were too long. I've just attached it again with 2 safety pins to make it the right length for my shoulders. I have a little bit of a short torso, I think. They've popped off a bit and I've been afraid of tearing the fabric because all of the pressure is on like a tiny spot. I've been a little bit afraid of tearing them and it's just quite unfinished. So I would like to do it properly and sew them on. So, and that's also like, it's a really quick project. It's not gonna take that much time, but I haven't done it yet. So these straps were honestly a little fiddly to fix, and I kept some of their length for added stability, but I'm not sure the final look is exactly what I wanted. And the armpits go up too far as well, so there's room for improvement. But now I can wear it and feel good about running around and moving freely without hearing little tears from the safety pins. I was FaceTiming with Lægebjørn as I was working on this, and it ended up being really fun. They were repairing stuff as well. And I also brought in my guinea pig for a little bit of support. Both of them actually, but you can only see Bo here. They're always loyal companions when I'm doing different projects. Oh, this is the pile. This is what we've got going for us today. It's a gray and rainy day. I'm gonna make some tea and listen to some music, maybe watch a TV show while I work on these and film it for you. I hope you enjoy. How would you do it? Would you take the easy ones first or the most difficult ones to get them out of the way? Having a wardrobe that you've personally stitched and altered makes for a good relationship with your clothes, at least for me it does. It saves you money from going out and buying replacements, and it spares our environment of the huge burden that our fashion industry has production-wise on pollution of all sorts. There are many more in-depth tutorials online on the different methods I used in this video, and so if anyone was inspired to look at faulty clothes as salvageable, then that was the point of my video. I really hope you enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one.